Hello and welcome to the PropTech Hot Seat on iPropertyRadio with myself, Carol Tallon, the show where we explore the trends and technologies driving innovation across the built environment. The show is brought to you in partnership with PropTech Ireland, the hub for innovators, investors and industry leaders. In the PropTech Hot Seat today is Lucas Balak, CEO and co-founder of Spaceflow, a company that elevates the digital experience within buildings. Spaceflow produces a tenant engagement experience product for the real estate industry, empowering the concept of space as a service, which we've discussed here at length many times, for innovative landlords who place customer satisfaction and ESG at the heart of their operations. Lucas, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Carol. Pleasure to be here.
Space as a service is something we've explored, and in fact we've had kind of the father, dare I say grandfather of space as a service, Anthony Slumbers, as a guest many times here. And certainly 5-6 years ago, tenant experience was not something that was a huge focus for the real estate industry. And that has absolutely turned around. So talk to us about the Spaceflow offering. What is the core offering that you're bringing to the market today?
Absolutely. So in short, Spaceflow has 3 key verticals for our solution. So think of our solution as a mobile app for tenants or residents, the end users, who basically is living or working in a specific building. And then we have the administration portal. That's for the building managers or community manager, anybody who is managing the relationships with tenants. So that's in terms of the structure of the product. In terms of the features or how we help the market, to transform to operate digitally and bring these meaningful, or better experiences across commercial and residential buildings or portfolios, we have a set of 3 packages. One is focused on the digital operations. So you can imagine features focused on communication between landlord and tenants, resource booking. So all the flexible amenities that are being provided by landlords, tenants can easily book and pay for them. You can imagine features like help desk. So when you have some issue or something is broken, you can easily report it to the management. So that's the digital operations in short. The second part or package, how we call it, is set of features focused on community. So we believe that where you work or live, it has a lot to do with all the other people that are there with you. And sort of you create a community with everybody. So Spaceflow helps landlords to facilitate these communities and get from them important feedback. We have, for example, a feature that focus on tenant satisfaction. So we can also sense, is this tenant in a good state, or are they happy? Are they willing to, continue in having this service going forward, or maybe you're risking their churn. Obviously, features like group chat, events, that's the community part. And the very last one, that's what we call smart building, and there you can think of features or use cases such as mobile access, so you don't need any plastic cards, but you use the same app, the same phone to open your doors. Think of features like parcel management, so you open the locker when you get when you expect a delivery, for example, into your resident, or visitor management. Or lastly, I would mention the smart metering gamification, which is something we are really proud of, and now trying to introduce it to the market in order to help tenants to be educated and on top of the latest well-being data, but also energy consumption from their unit or from their floor, and to potentially also gamify them in a way that it helps landlords to reach the net zero targets or any other sustainable ESG goals that they have set as a business. So that's our view on tenant experience, three verticals: digital operations, community, and smart building. And as you can imagine, pretty holistic platform or solution. But that's all what it's about, right? It is a holistic approach in order to be on top of the customer experience and spaces service. So
okay. And thank you for going through that, because there's a huge amount of that. So let's break it down, because it's very different when you're trying to talk about maybe the ESG credentials, because obviously, say for example, the landlords are fully aware of that. They understand their compliance, they know their best practice, they know the targets they're trying to hit, but actually trying to do that in a way that not only doesn't compromise the resident or the tenant experience, but actually enhances it. They're two very different messaging, so it can be difficult to get that right. At the start, you talked about space flow in the context of I suppose, enabling the digital transformation of real estate. And the fact is, we've been talking about this transformation, this digital transformation journey for close to a decade. From your experience operating across more than 50 markets, where is the real estate sector in terms of that digital transformation journey? Have we come as far as we think we have?
Good question. I think we still, or the industry still has a long way to go, of course. It's definitely not easy for landlords to figure out the right approach, but that's fine. That's how innovation works. And I think we all as an industry are learning even from our mistakes, and trying to figure out the best scalable, also I think it's important to say scalable model to deploy and use innovation across business cases for our clients. I think the big challenge for the industry, for our clients, landlords, is that obviously there is so many PropTech solutions, pretty fragmented market. So you need to really know well what, or identify specific and realistic needs and expectations, what you want to achieve with such technology, and then to choose the right partners. And the important part for landlords is that usually it's not just one partner, but you need to bring in and source various solutions. So, for example, I'll give you an example. From our perspective, we are a front-end solution. So we are, the slick, user experience platform that interacts or bridge the interactions between landlords and the end users, tenants. But then you have so much more on the back end of the operations, like property management systems that are super important for the day-to-day operations. So that's something that we're, for example, in order to provide the best possible digital operations plus experience, I would say extremely important combination is to have a property management system combined with a tenant experience platform, which is sort of the front end. So that's the front end. Property management is the back end. And then what we see a lot in our clients' strategies is that they have also data layer that sources all the important data from the occupancy or lease agreements and access, smart sensors, and basically based on these you can fully leverage all these solutions to communicate with tenants, to set up the right strategy going forward.
And you can see how that holistic approach would be good for landlords. You're looking at not only improving the tenant experience, which obviously is an important element, but you're also optimizing revenue. You're ensuring ESG compliance, and I suppose more importantly, you're providing the data that allows portfolio owners and the building owners and managers to actually track where they are, because monitoring and tracking has been a huge barrier to ESG compliance in the past. But what are the drivers that you're seeing? I mean, in 2023, do you still need to convince landlords on any elements of this? Where's the resistance from the industry coming from?
We see definitely a huge progress in terms of how many landlords they know what they want to achieve. Obviously, because they are pushed from the regulators and they financial investors on, for example, the ESG agenda, which our solution is part of. So we see more and more like true innovators in the industry that knows that in order to achieve these results, like attract and being able to retain tenants, like ESG compliance, like smooth digital operations, you need strong tech partners. And they approach us and they say like, we understand what we need, what we want. Can you provide us this set of solution or features, and what is the price? In years, and because we are in the market since 2016, that's still very early days of PropTech. It was like us pitching landlords, trying to really educate, which we are still doing today. But what I'm saying, there is much more landlords that they really understand what they need. And then I see a huge improvement. And for us as a PropTech company, it's fun to work with some of these really, progressive, innovative landlords such as NREP, such as Vasakronan, OCP, and being there, they're a close partner on this journey. And that's what we always trying to be like, a great collaborative partner for the joint journey. I listen to their feedback.
Yeah, I love when you describe it as fun working with developers, who do understand this, because I absolutely understand. And I know that PropTech providers listening in here today, and some of the industry, if they're honest with themselves, will, it'll resonate when you talk about having to educate the market, because certainly, back in 2015, 2016, 2017, really probably right up to the start of COVID, this wasn't about sales or demos. Like, it was really about educating the market on why this was important. And that's why I think it's really good for us to understand the key drivers that have actually jump-started adoption. And I know you touched on regulation there, but I think the reality is COVID propelled this much faster than we've seen regulation 100%. Do in the half decade before that. But because you've been in the marketplace since 2016, you might be well placed to explain to me, what do you consider a smart building today compared to maybe what you did in 2016?
I believe like obviously the key elements stay the same. Smart building is the one that obviously has definitely end users in the heart or a core of the operations, has a lot of tech sensors and smart gadgets, already there from the development phase, be able to monitor and automate many processes. So I think that the concept of smart building hasn't changed that much. What I would say is that, now every developer that is trying to design a new project, they have already completely different kind of thinking from day one of designing and developing such project. And the expectations are not only on all the providers that were there before, but now a huge part is the tech industry and the tech partners. So to be fair, it's not really our core market, the developers, because we understand like these projects are long, taking long time before they are finalized. So we focus our solution and our service mainly to already established portfolios and buildings in order to make them position well for today's market needs in order to attract and retain tenants. But if you ask me about the smart building concept, I think like, again, it is something that if you talk to developer, the expectations on the technologies from day one are completely somewhere else. And that comes also back to the fact that the market is now much more mature. You have so many of these certifications like VAR score, WELL or CREST, and if you achieve them from day one of when the building is finished, obviously you have much better position to, first of all, attract tenants. Second, also ask higher rent. So all this obviously is really important aspect for developers is driving the innovation.
Very good. And one of the core tenets that you talked about, one of the core parts of your offering there is around community, and that's something that can be quite an intangible. When you get, yes, you can say what are the factors that go into it, but there's an intangible quality there as to what really creates a cohesive community within a building. And it does it goes beyond the concierge services and the convenience. Can you talk to me a little bit about, because I think that that's one of the areas where I'm seeing portfolio owners and managers struggle, because they're saying all the right things. So they know that community is important. They're just not sure how to really make that happen within a building.
You're right. It is definitely a tricky process, and every building is unique, right? So every time you need to have kind of like tailored approach in the way how you build community in a specific asset, and it doesn't matter if it's office or residential. You always need to have kind of like tailored programming with top-notch amenities, events. And as you said, concierge or a community manager who is facilitating the interactions or connections, right? So all needs to click or needs to work. And because we understand it's not an easy work, we also have our in-house community managers that help our partners or clients to build these programs around their assets. So either on-site or online, we help to build the best tailored content, events, amenities that suit or serve their tenants and help them to be more productive, happy, satisfied in all these buildings. We see some clients that they are that progressive that they also hire their own community manager or concierge or experience manager, however we call them. So that's, again, then it's super fun to work with these, because then we only provide them with the tech part and they can execute everything on their own.
Since 2016, have you been tracking, I suppose, the business case for community? Because again, that's something that comes up quite regularly on panels that I moderate. We talk about community and there's the social aspect, but do we know the business case for this? Do we know at this stage good community, does that turn into longer tenancies? Does that translate into higher rents?
Absolutely.
What kind of work has been done around that?
That's a really good question. So we are obviously tracking this. What we see in our clients' portfolios, that the strong focus on communities. For example, we have one client in Denmark that they've been able to decrease the churn by 20% with this tailored focus on the community in that project. So that's, I think, really great result that shows that the industry, when you put focus on the right things, it can help you not just attract tenants, but obviously prevent churn and boost the loyalty of your customers to stay and to really enjoy their time in the buildings that you provide. So proof by data, we are obviously tracking this now, even with tenant satisfaction score, like I mentioned. So that's another important metric that equips landlords and property managers to be kind of in the driving seat, where they see, like, is this tenant at risk, or are they happy, so I can expect them to prolong the contract. All this is coming back to also the aspect of community that the building is kind of providing.
Lucas, I in this industry almost 2 decades, and we talk a lot about, when we talk about digital transformation, we talk a lot about I suppose culture change, and I think culture change is never something that's really talked about in the context of prop tech, because it's almost assumed you couldn't do it unless there was a change of culture. And when you talk about the importance of community, I won't say that wasn't a key feature, because actually if we look at housing delivery going back a century, we see that actually the community was at the heart of it. But you touched on something really there that I haven't heard anybody else talk about, and that actually using the technology to get important feedback from the community. In the past, certainly in the more recent past, communication was very much one way between the building owners and the residents. How do you ensure that important feedback from the residents is getting back in a way that it can be actioned by the building owner or manager?
For sure. There are many ways. So obviously we are fully aware that, as landlord, sometimes you want to moderate, right, these discussions, because you don't want this or to twist against you in any way. So, for example, space law, when you do a poll with tenants, you can choose, to be, the results to be private only for the managers. So that's something that, you can collect only on your own, and based on that, obviously, provide actions or feedback to tenants. Similarly, if we talk about this tenant satisfaction score, again, that's obviously something that's only stays with the landlord, and they can act on these data. So I don't know if I answer your question or concern.
You do, absolutely. And I suppose final question, the tenant satisfaction score, I think it's great that you've put a metric on something that was considered quite intangible. So are you getting to the stage, or are you seeing, are your clients at the stage where they're starting to use that tenant satisfaction score when they're going out into the marketplace with new offerings?
To be fair, this is feature that we are putting live in this quarter or in Q1. So we have just first few results coming out of this, but it's something that has been demanded from our clients for some time already. So I'll be able to provide you better feedback and data in our next follow-up or interview. At the time, it's a fresh one, but we are now implementing it across obviously all customers, that they are willing to have this important feedback to drive the operations, and so sense the sentiment of their tenants about the service that they provide.
Lucas, you're obviously Spaceflow is one of the global leaders. You're in 50 markets. Any plans to enter the Irish marketplace?
15, not 50.
15. Any plans to enter the Irish marketplace?
Absolutely. We have business developers and customer success managers in the UK. That's something that's a hub from where we obviously trying to work with our potential prospects. Even in Ireland, we are not there yet, but obviously that's part of the strategy going forward, to also be able to support and collaborate with potential partners in Ireland. So short answer, yes. That's
very good. One to watch, Lucas, one to watch. Okay, thank you so much for sharing that and for giving us your time today. Absolutely. That was Lucas Black, CEO and co-founder of Spaceflow. Our thanks to producer Katie Tallon and to the podcast production team at Hear Me Roar Media. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out all of the other real estate and construction shows on iPropertyRadio. Before we go, we want to give a special word of thanks to our sponsor, PropTech Ireland, the hub for innovators, investors and industry leaders in Ireland. So thank you, PropTech Ireland, for supporting the podcast and making these conversations happen. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the PropTech Hot Seat here on iProperty Radio.